What is up, you guys? Teller checking in for the recap of UFC Vegas 85. We did make it another profitable event. That's always a good thing. Not major units of profit, but again, a profitable night. We'll take that all day. We did have one tough loss, but other than that, it was pretty much smooth sailing. You guys know what we're doing here. We're going to actually now start at the top of this card. We're talking about the main event right off the rip, and then we'll work our way down. We'll talk about the bets that we targeted and any major talking points that we took away from this card. Hint, Renato Moicano making some noise. All right, guys, so we're going to jump into the first fight. If you can, please like this video, subscribe if you haven't, catch me on all my social media. It's scrolling below. I got my Instagram and my Twitter there. It's much appreciated, and you guys can expect some new special content coming your guys' way this week, all right, as we get ready for UFC Vegas 86, which I already have my prediction video, full card prediction video up here on the channel. All right, guys, so you guys, we're talking about the main event first and foremost. Nasruddin Imavov pretty much styles on Roman Dolidze. I mean, that's what I thought, and that's what the masses all thought. But unfortunately, one of the judges thought that this fight was 47-47. He scored this fight 47-47 after Roman did have a potential 10-8 round there when Nasruddin definitely made a horrible mistake to throw that kick. But let's be clear, it was more of a slapping type kick. Anyone that thought that that was just a brutal kick and that Roman shouldn't have continued, that's ridiculous. He took way more damage throughout that fight than just that kick. But so I do want to give a special props to Roman for being a true man out there and just continuing to fight through that. And he actually had his best moment of the fight right after they restarted from that situation. He had like a little 30-second a little push there on Nasruddin. But I pretty much had Imavov dominating this entire fight, okay? I had him winning potentially every round, okay? If you want to give Dolidze that one round, it was a 10-8. I still had Nasruddin winning every round. There's no way you're scoring at 47-47, no matter how you want to spin this, okay? It was disgusting. And again, it's just a huge black eye in the sport. Imavov looked very good in this fight. I thought he fought an intelligent fight too. It was a 25-minute fight, so he was kind of pacing himself, and I just thought that he fought an intelligent fight. Roman wanted to push him up against the cage consistently, and he was letting him just waste his energy there. He was chilling, making sure nothing crazy happened in the fight, that he didn't gas himself out, and he was letting Roman just hold him there while he was just inflicting a little bit more damage throughout the rounds and taking all those rounds. So, I did have a 3-unit play on Nasruddin Imavov, caught him at -160. I felt very good about that play there. A lot of people thought that this fight was a little bit closer on paper coming into it, but I really thought there was a clear advantage for Imavov to control this fight with just being a way more refined striker. Dolidze is very clunky, throws those heavy shots and whatnot, and Nasruddin has an underrated ground game as well. And unless Roman had good success with the grappling early on, I just felt Imavov was going to take this fight over. So that was a nice hit there. And then we go right on to another hit. Okay, I had Renato Moicano to win this fight, and I caught the line nice and early, because if you guys saw the line before the fight started, Renato was up in the -200 range. I threw 5 units on him. I was able to grab him at a -145 line. I did also throw 1 unit on him to catch a sub, which I caught at +200. I thought there was some good value there. We didn't hit that, but still very happy with how this fight played out for me with that 5-unit play, cashing there at a solid -145 line. I thought there was a clear path to victory through the grappling, and that's what we saw. We knew that Dober was going to be dangerous at times in this fight, especially when the fight was standing. And but at the same time, I thought Moicano had potential to inflict some damage on Dober as well. We saw Dober knocked out recently by Matt Frevola. Renato Moicano has an underrated striking game. He's a well-rounded fighter, and he did seem to tire a little bit, but I like the way he pushed through and got those takedowns and fought an intelligent fight too, controlling Dober down on the mat. I loved the post-fight speech. Money Moicano out there. I loved everything he was preaching about, and I see people saying, Moicano's crazy. Oh yeah, crazy. You see Rashad Evans in the post-fight show. Oh yeah, he's saying some. He said it in like a kind way, but oh yeah, just so that was crazy. This and that. Was it really that crazy? I mean, everything he said was pretty much spot on, if you ask me. You guys tell me where you disagreed with anything he said. I mean, I thought that was fire. And we're going to talk about another fighter who got a W on this card and did something in a similar fashion. It's something we've been talking about for a long time. You guys remember we're interviewing these fighters. Why is it so hard for these guys to make a name for themselves in the cage? That's what I'm talking about. Speak up. And now, Renato Moicano, he's barking up the tree to get some bigger fights than if he's just sitting out there quietly, okay? And I'm sorry also, but you guys know we're doing some matchmaking for the main event. So real quick, I want to see Nasruddin Imavov, just really quickly. I want to see him fight Chris Curtis. I know he was dominating that fight before it was turned into a no contest due to the headbutt, but just run that fight back the way that the top of the division stands. I think that that's a fight that could be made. But I want to see Money Moicano now get that Paddy Pimblett match, right? Everyone wants that Paddy fight because Paddy is a little bit of an overrated fighter, but has that big name. And I think that that's a fight people would be very excited for. I think it would play out in an exciting way. And both guys have big names right now. And Moicano can potentially go out there and expose Pimblett. And props to Moicano for getting loud out there, making a name for himself. It's a very easy thing to do. I don't know why these fighters aren't all doing that, right? I mean, they want to complain about fighter pay and whatnot. Just speak up, all right? It's not that hard. Even if it's not your real true personality, hey, listen, you want to pay the bills, you want to help the family out, just bark a little bit, all right? All right, Randy Brown looked phenomenal. The striking's ever evolving. He gets that knockout over Muslim Salikov. Randy Brown now is on quite a bit of a win streak, he's only on a 2-fight win streak, I should say, but within his last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 fights, he's only lost once. So 6-1 in his last 7 fights. That's pretty respectable, and has some decent wins out there. Not against the highest caliber opponents. I want to see him take on the young and up and coming true talent, Michael Morales. I think that that's a fight that would play out very, very entertaining. And I think that the winner of that fight would really be starting to make some noise in the division. So if Randy Brown really wants to gain that respect, you go out there and you stump this freight train of Michael Morales, and then people are really going to be talking about you, and you're going to get some big time fights, and you could try to push your way towards a potential title shot. But Randy Brown looked good. He was a massive favorite in that fight, and he delivered. Speaking of big favorites, Natalia Silva passes with flying colors, I would say. I mean, the way she finished the latter 2 rounds, a little bit of a shaky start to kick the fight off. But Vivian Araujo, you guys like that, the way I said that? Araujo. I used to like to call her Araujo, make it simple. But Vivian, you guys know, she's a crafty veteran. She was trying to use the clinch and use her strength to kind of slow this fight down. And Natalia had a little bit of a shaky start, but once she got comfortable in there, you saw the striking display. I mean, this girl is just phenomenal. The way that she throws that lead kick up there, she's so flexible. The Taekwondo is beautiful to watch, and she's just going to continue to be more well-rounded as these fights continue on, and I think that she's definitely a future title challenger. The fight that I would like to see her have next is against Tracy Cortez. How about that? Tracy Cortez, a fighter that has yet to taste defeat in the octagon as well. 2 very promising fighters. I know that they're relatively young, and sometimes you guys don't want to see younger fighters, take that L early on. You kind of want to see them go their own paths. But the way that this division is unraveling, let these 2 young fighters face off, and let the winner of that fight start to get some real potential to try to push their way towards a title shot. The time is now for these young fighters in a more shallow division in the women's flyweight division. So very fun to watch Natalia Silva fight. Then we had excuse me there. I have to put that on silent. But then we had the unfortunate eye poke to Makhmud Muradov against Aliskib Khizriev. Just rebooked that fight. I won't talk too much about that fight. Nothing really to talk about. The fight took place for about 11 seconds. Just rebooked that fight. I'm still very excited for that fight. Man, I think that Khizriev was going to get the job done. He looked sharp out there for just a couple seconds there, but the way he was throwing heat from the very beginning, I think he would have took that fight unless Muradov caught him with the shot early on. But just rebooked that on a nice card. Okay, now this is where we hit some turbulence here, and this is the fighter I wanted to talk about as well, in Charles Radtke. I did have a 5-unit play on Gilbert Urbina, and obviously it was a horrible play in retrospect, but I don't know who that was in the cage, man. That was not the Gilbert Urbina that I've seen in the past. Now, I know Gilbert Urbina doesn't have a lengthy resume, but you dive into the tape of his fights, even dating back to The Ultimate Fighter. This is a dude that's usually very confident in his scraps, even in fights that he's lost. He was so hesitant from the moment this fight took place. I do have some question marks into what was going on with Urbina. I mean, I don't want to take too much away from Radtke because Radtke looked sharp. He was very crisp out there, very confident as well. But Urbina was on the back foot from the very get-go. I thought he would have been pressing, and I thought that he could use his length advantage and his striking skill set to really control this fight. And I thought Radtke would have been pushing the wrestling and would have struggled because Urbina has some solid grappling as well. Charles Radtke looks legit, and now he's a fighter. Again, this is the guy I want to talk about because he's a fighter that he's using the microphone to gain attention, man. He has this cocky attitude. He kind of looks like Justin Gaethje, but he's a more ruthless version. He's obviously got a serious skill set. He's got Bilal Muhammad in his corner. This guy's really grinding right now, and I think that he's doing all the right things. I think he's going to start to get some big name fights moving forward. He's really cocky. So I'm at the press conference, keeping that same energy there, and people are going to be looking into him. People are going to be having eyes on him, and I think that he is just an exciting fighter to keep an eye on moving forward. But an unfortunate L there. That was really the only legit loss we took in the card. So, but I'm excited to see who Charles fights next. Talk about a statement fight. The performance that Molly McCann had. I know she just defeated a fighter that she's already defeated in the past, and not the most respectable level of talent for Diana Belbita. But still, the way Molly McCann went out there and got the job done, you have to take notice. She looked more trim than ever. Goes out there, snatches up an armbar after coming off that very disappointing loss where she was submitted via armbar against Georgia Storlienko. I think that was a statement fight. She was submitted twice in her last two fights, and then she goes out there, gets the submission. I like the way that she looked trimmer, and you definitely keep an eye on her. The striking looking sharp always, like it always is, and Molly McCann gained some respect from me. She's a fun fighter to watch, whether or not you like her personality or not. I think that she's just a fun addition to women's mixed martial arts, and I like her in that weight class there. So, and then we had Charles Johnson digging deep, fighting for his UFC career. This was a fighter that was going to get cut if he lost, if you ask me. I think he was definitely going to get cut. Just too many L's going on there. And then he gives Azit Maxim his first ever loss. And Charles down after the first round, I would say, right? And goes and digs deep in and snatches up some rounds late. And just that was a fun fight. He was just digging deep, and he was putting a lot of volume out there. And I'm happy for Charles Johnson. I'm happy. I'm sorry for any of you guys that lost on a parlay. If you had an Azit mixed in something like that, you probably shouldn't have had that mixed in. The line was too high. We talked about that, right? But still, Charles Johnson, happy to see him get that W and get another opportunity. He's a fighter that always takes short notice fights. He jumps in there and he's willing to scrap anybody. Good for him. Themba Gorimbo, got to get used to saying that name. That's a name we're going to need to know how to pronounce perfectly, because this dude is a talented fighter, and I think he's going to be making some noise in the welterweight division moving forward. Gets the knockout over Pete Rodriguez. You guys know not a lot of us saw this coming. I mean, we understand that Gorimbo throws some heavy shots on the feet, but he's a grappling-based fighter first and foremost. We thought that he would try to expose Pete down on the mat, and he just goes out there, throws bombs, and knocks out Pete Rodriguez, who's really known for his boxing skill set. So that was very impressive. Excited to see what's next for Themba. Then we had Young Lee. Remember, we talked about the fact that a lot of people were eyeing Blake Bilder as a solid underdog in this matchup here. Maybe he could have exposed Lee from the grappling side of things. Not us over here, right? We said at the end of the day, when we were breaking down tape on this fight, we see there was a clear speed advantage from Lee, a clear striking advantage, and he has an underrated overall game. You saw the takedown defense, man. You saw the way he was using the elbows against the cage. Lee is the truth, man. This kid, he's the truth. I'm excited to see who he's matched up against next, and I regret that I didn't jump on that line earlier and make that an official play, because Blake Bilder, he's a good grappler and whatnot, but he just, like we said, he throws his strikes from east and west, and Young Lee is just sharp and very crisp, and he's a good fighter, man. Great addition to the featherweight division there. All right, and then this was actually the first play that we hit on the card. Luana Carolina. We got this at plus 110, even snatched it up a little bit at plus 130 right before the fight started. Did not understand why she was the dog in this matchup here. A lot of people were commenting on my IG post too, kind of questioning why I picked Carolina. I mean, are you guys serious, right? I mean, Storlienko, did you guys forget who she is as a fighter? Yeah, she's a very solid BJJ player, has a nasty armbar, but if she doesn't catch that submission, you guys didn't feel that Carolina was going to take this fight over on the feet with the striking, using the range and just the toughness that she has in the feet. And she has an underrated striking game, and she's a decent Muay Thai fighter. And then if she avoided the sub, didn't we kind of think that she would get a little slippery in there, get sweaty, and we would see her even probably raining down some strikes from on the top position? I just don't understand why any of you guys would have been targeting Storlienko. All right, I mean, she pulled off that submission over Molly McCann. Now you guys think she's a stud. Take a look at her UFC resume. Clear value was on Carolina. We took advantage of that. Markel Medeiros What did you guys think about this decision here over Landon Quinoas? A questionable one. Thought this fight could have went either way. I had no problem with Medeiros getting the fight. It just seemed a little strange when we heard unanimous decision. Thought this would have been a split decision type of fight. I liked the pressure that Medeiros was putting out there. He was marching forward, and I know he was not landing with as much pop on his shots, but I thought the volume he was putting out there and mixing things up, I didn't have a problem with him getting the victory over Landon Quinoas. Landon Quinoas should have stepped on the gas a little bit more so. He was landing the more heavy shots, but should have stepped on the gas a little bit more so. Then we had Jamal Pogues edging out Thomas Peterson. And this was a fight that I thought was a little closer than some of you guys thought it was, or at least the telecast team thought it was. Yes, I had Pogues winning the fight, but Peterson was touching him up to the body and whatnot. And I thought this fight came down to a situation in the second round where Peterson almost had that takedown. He had the leg extended, and DC talked about the mistake he made, but by not getting a little bit, by not elevating a little bit more so to solidify that takedown. And if he would have got that, I think he would have took over that fight. He probably would have, took over that second round. Who knows where it would have went from there? But he would have been up on the scorecards 2-1 on Pogues. So just that one pivotal, crucial moment in the fight, and Pogues dug deep, and Pogues, how you want to say his name? Pogues. I don't know why it's a little bit of a tongue twister for me there, but he does what he does best when he gets the job done, and that's just doing that little pitter patter from the outside and edging a decision type of fight. So he's not going to be in the good graces of the UFC, if you ask me, and eventually he will get fed to the wolves. And if he loses a couple fights in a row, I can see the UFC getting rid of him very quickly because his fighting style is not fun to watch. Okay, all right, guys. So that was the fight card there. UFC Vegas 85, and now we move on to UFC Vegas 86. Like I told you guys, I'm working on a lot of things behind the scenes, so not going to spend too much time over here chirping on the mic. Hopefully you guys were profitable on this card here, and you guys know what we do. We take those units, we move to the next one, and like I said, stay tuned for a lot of new content coming your way. Make sure you follow me on IG, MMA Fortune Teller _. Make sure you follow me on Twitter, The MMA Teller. Make sure you hit that like button for your boy. Subscribe to the channel. Signing out. Teller.
Welcome to the show. This is the MMA Fortune Teller. Yeah.
The MMA Fortune Teller.
The teller.